In the heart of Manchester, a young police detective named Emma Wilson stood at a crossroads that would change her life forever. The bustling police station hummed with daily activity, but Emma's world had suddenly become very quiet. Her hands trembled as she held a folder containing information that could destroy everything she had worked for. Emma was not an ordinary police officer. She had fought hard to become a detective, facing countless challenges from the moment she decided to join the force. Growing up in a small working-class neighborhood, she understood struggle better than most. Her mother, a single woman who worked 3 jobs to support their family, had always taught Emma the most important lesson. In life, always stand up for what is right. The evidence in her hands was devastating. Lieutenant Robert Thompson, her boss for the past 5 years, was deeply involved in something terrible. She had discovered a complex network of corruption that ran through the entire police department. Bank records, secret messages, and hidden financial transactions told a story of betrayal that made her stomach turn. Emma remembered her first day at the police academy. She was one of the few women, and definitely one of the few black women in her training class. She had to work twice as hard to prove herself, to show that she belonged. Her determination had always been her greatest strength. Now, that same determination was pushing her to do something incredibly difficult. The evidence showed how Lieutenant Thompson had been taking bribes from local criminal groups. He was protecting certain criminals while arresting others, all for personal gain. This wasn't just about money. This was about destroying the very idea of justice that Emma had dedicated her life to protecting. She thought about her options. She could stay quiet and keep her job, her reputation, her comfortable position in the department. Or she could speak up and risk everything she had worked for. The safe choice would be to say nothing. The right choice would be to expose the truth. Her small apartment told the story of her life, photographs of her family, her police academy graduation, and memories of hard-won achievements. Each picture represented a moment of struggle and success. Her mother's photograph seemed to watch her, those knowing eyes filled with strength and wisdom. Emma knew what was at stake. Speaking up would mean losing her job, facing potential threats, and becoming an outcast in the very department she loved. But staying silent would mean betraying everything she believed in. She thought about the communities she had sworn to protect, the people who trusted the police to do the right thing. The night grew late, and Emma continued to organize her evidence. Each document was carefully placed, each piece of information checked and double-checked. She knew she would only get one chance to expose the truth. One mistake could destroy everything. Her partner, Jack Miller, had no idea what she was planning. They had worked together for years, and he trusted her completely. Emma wondered how he would react when he discovered what she was about to do. Would he support her, or would he see her as a threat? The city outside her window continued its endless dance, cars moving, lights blinking, people living their lives without knowing the storm that was about to break. Emma felt both terrified and excited. This was bigger than her, bigger than the department. This was about justice. As dawn approached, Emma made her final decision. She would expose the truth no matter what it cost her. She thought about her mother's words. Sometimes one person can make a difference. Those words had been her guiding light through every difficult moment in her life. The folder sat on her table, a weapon of truth waiting to be used. Emma knew that by morning everything would change. Her life would never be the same. But she was ready. She had spent her entire life preparing for this moment. Justice was not just a job for Emma. It was a calling. It was who she was. The first rays of sunlight began to peek through her apartment window, marking the beginning of a day that would change everything. Emma took a deep breath, ready to face whatever would come next. She was not just a police detective. She was a guardian of truth. Emma sat in her small apartment, surrounded by the quiet memories of her life. The evidence folder lay open on her kitchen table, each document a potential earthquake that could destroy everything she had built. Her hands moved slowly, organizing the papers with a precision that reflected her years of police training. The morning light crept through the window, casting shadows on the photographs that told her life story. Her mother's picture watched her, a silent reminder of the strength that ran through her veins. Emma had always been different, a woman who chose difficult paths, who believed in something greater than herself. Her phone buzzed. It was Jack Miller, her partner of 5 years. "Breakfast?" the message read. Emma hesitated. How could she tell him what she was about to do? They had shared countless coffee breaks, solved difficult cases together, and built a friendship that went beyond normal police partnerships. She remembered her first day with Jack. He was different from other officers, kind, understanding, and genuinely committed to helping people. When other colleagues made subtle racist comments or treated her differently because she was a black woman, Jack had always stood by her side. He saw her as a fellow officer, nothing more and nothing less. The decision weighed on her like a heavy coat. Exposing Lieutenant Thompson meant risking everything. Her career, her reputation, her future, all could be destroyed in a single moment. Police departments were notorious for protecting their own, and whistleblowers were rarely treated kindly. Emma thought about her journey. Growing up in a tough neighborhood, she had seen how corruption destroyed communities. She had watched local criminals walk free while innocent people suffered. Her mother had worked multiple jobs, struggled to keep food on the table, while some people broke rules without consequences. Those memories fueled her passion for justice. The clock ticked. Each minute brought her closer to a decision that would change everything. She could ignore the evidence, continue her comfortable life, and pretend she had seen nothing. Or she could stand up, speak the truth, and face whatever consequences came her way. Her training had taught her to be careful, to gather evidence, to build a case that could not be denied. She had spent months collecting documents, recording conversations, tracking financial transactions. This was not an impulsive decision. This was a carefully planned exposé of deep-rooted corruption. Outside, the city of Manchester continued its daily rhythm. People went to work, children went to school, and life moved forward. No one knew the storm that was brewing inside Emma's small apartment. No one understood the weight of the decision she was about to make. Jack's message came again. "You okay? You're quiet today." Emma smiled. He knew her too well. Their partnership had been more than just professional. They had become friends, almost like family. How would he react when he discovered what she was planning? She thought about the potential consequences. Reporting a superior officer was dangerous. Police departments were like families, and families protected their own. She could be seen as a traitor, pushed out, potentially even threatened. But staying silent would mean betraying everything she believed in. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to do what is right even when you are afraid. Those words had guided her entire life. They had pushed her through the police academy, through difficult cases, through moments of doubt and challenge. The folder seemed to pulse with energy. Each document was a potential weapon, a truth waiting to be revealed. Emma knew that once she started this process, there was no turning back. Her life would be forever changed. As afternoon approached, Emma made her final preparations. She would meet with Internal Affairs, present her evidence, and expose the corruption that had been hiding in plain sight. She was not just doing this for herself. She was doing this for every community that deserved honest, fair policing. Her phone buzzed one more time. Jack's message was simple. "Whatever is happening, I've got your back." Those words gave her the final piece of courage she needed. The decision was made. Truth would prevail. The police station buzzed with morning activity when Emma walked in. Her steps were steady, her folder tucked carefully under her arm. The fluorescent lights seemed to highlight her determination, casting a sharp clarity on her mission. Lieutenant Thompson sat in his office, completely unaware of the storm about to break. He was a tall man, mid-50s, with graying hair and the confident swagger of someone who believed he was untouchable. Years of manipulation and secret deals had made him feel invincible. Emma knocked on the door. Her heart raced, but her hands remained completely still. Years of police training had taught her how to control her emotions, how to remain calm in the most intense situations. "Come in," Thompson's voice boomed. The office was typical of a senior police officer. Awards on the walls, photographs of important moments, a sense of authority in every corner. Emma remembered how much she had once respected this man, how she had looked up to him as a mentor during her early years on the force. "Sir," she said, her voice clear and steady, "I need to speak with you about some serious matters." Thompson looked up, his eyebrows raised. He didn't recognize the storm brewing in front of him. Emma placed the folder on his desk, each document carefully arranged to tell a complete story of corruption. "What's this?" he asked, his voice losing some of its earlier confidence. Emma began explaining. Bank statements showing unexplained deposits, recording of conversations with known criminal groups, financial transactions that connected Thompson directly to local criminal networks. Each piece of evidence was like a punch, breaking down the walls of his supposed integrity. The office grew quiet. Other officers outside began to notice something was happening. Whispers started, heads turned, and tension filled the air. Thompson's face changed. The confident swagger disappeared, replaced by a mix of anger and fear. He understood what was happening. His entire career, his reputation, everything he had built was about to collapse. "You're making a mistake," he said, his voice now a desperate whisper. Emma remained calm. "I'm doing my job," she responded, "protecting the community, ensuring justice." Her words were simple but powerful. They represented everything she believed in, the core reason she had become a police officer. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. Jack Miller watched from outside the office. He had noticed Emma's determination that morning, the way she walked, the careful way she carried her folder. Now he understood. His partner was doing something extraordinary. Thompson tried to argue, to negotiate, but the evidence was clear. Years of careful documentation, months of secret investigation. Emma had built a case that could not be denied. "You're done," Emma said simply. The moment hung in the air. Years of tension, of hidden corruption, of silent agreements, all were about to be exposed. The police station, which had always protected its own, was about to face its biggest challenge. Word spread quickly. Other officers began to gather, watching through windows and doorways. Some looked shocked, some looked afraid, some looked relieved. Emma had done what many had wanted to do but never had the courage to attempt. Lieutenant Thompson was silent now. The fight had gone out of him. He understood that his career was over, his reputation destroyed. Everything he had worked for was about to collapse. Emma called internal affairs. Her voice was steady, professional. She presented the evidence, explained the situation, requested an immediate investigation. Each word was carefully chosen, each statement backed by solid proof. The station felt different now. Something fundamental had changed. The unspoken rules, the silent agreements, the protection of corrupt officers, all were being challenged by one woman's courage. Jack stepped forward, standing beside Emma. His presence was a silent support, a statement that she was not alone in this fight. As Thompson was escorted out, Emma knew her life would never be the same. She had chosen truth over comfort, justice over personal safety. Whatever came next, she was ready. The fight for justice had just begun. The news spread faster than anyone could have imagined. Emma Wilson, a young detective from Manchester's police department, had done the unthinkable. She had exposed her own commanding officer's corruption. Television news channels, radio stations, and social media platforms buzzed with the story. Some called her a hero. Others saw her as a traitor. The police department was split down the middle. Some officers respected her courage, while others viewed her as a threat to their unspoken system of protection. Jack Miller stood by her side through everything. He understood the magnitude of what she had done. During lunch breaks and quiet moments, he would remind her that she had done the right thing. "You saved the department," he would say, his hand occasionally touching her shoulder in support. Emma's mother watched the news reports with tears in her eyes. She had always known. Her daughter was special, a woman of incredible courage and integrity. Growing up in a tough neighborhood, Emma had learned early that standing up for what was right was more important than staying silent. The investigation expanded quickly. What had started as an exposé of one lieutenant's corruption became a massive internal review. Bank records were examined, past cases were reopened, and several other officers found themselves under investigation. The network of corruption ran deeper than anyone had initially believed. Community leaders began speaking out. They praised Emma's bravery, seeing her actions as a turning point for local law enforcement. Community meetings were held. Discussions about police accountability became more open and honest. Emma received both support and threats. Anonymous messages would arrive, some praising her courage, others warning her to be careful. But she remained steady. Her mother's lessons about courage echoed in her mind. True strength isn't about being fearless, it's about doing what's right even when you're afraid. The legal process was long and complicated. Lieutenant Thompson and 3 other high-ranking officers were eventually charged with multiple counts of corruption. Court hearings became public spectacles, with Emma called to testify multiple times. Her partner Jack became her strongest support. He managed press questions, helped her navigate the complex internal investigations, and ensured she was protected. Their partnership, always strong, became something more, a true friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. Local newspapers ran stories about her background. They highlighted her journey. A young black woman who had fought through countless obstacles to become a respected detective. Her story became more than just a corruption case. It became a symbol of hope and transformation. The police department began implementing new training programs. Transparency became a key focus. Emma's actions had forced a complete reevaluation of how internal investigations were conducted. Young officers were taught about integrity, about the importance of speaking up when something was wrong. Emma's mother watched all of this with quiet pride. She remembered the little girl who had always asked difficult questions, who had always wanted to understand why things worked the way they did. Now that little girl had changed an entire system. Months passed. The initial shock of the investigation began to settle. Emma was offered a new position, working with an independent review board focused on police accountability. She accepted, understanding that her work was far from over. Her life was different now. She received speaking invitations from universities, community organizations, and law enforcement conferences. Her story became an inspiration for young people who wanted to make a difference. Jack remained her closest friend and support. Together, they continued to work towards creating a more transparent, honest law enforcement system. They understood that one person could create significant change. Emma's story spread beyond Manchester. People from different cities and countries heard about the young detective who had the courage to stand up against corruption. She became a symbol of hope, a reminder that individual courage could challenge entire systems. Her mother's words continued to guide her. Change happens one brave decision at a time, and Emma had made that brave decision. She had chosen truth over comfort, integrity over silence. Her journey was just beginning. 2 years had passed since Emma exposed the corruption in the Manchester Police Department. The world looked different now, and she had become a symbol of hope and transformation. Her new role with the Independent Review Board allowed her to create meaningful changes in law enforcement. She developed training programs that focused on integrity, transparency, and community trust. Young officers looked up to her, seeing her as a model of what a true public servant should be. Jack Miller remained her closest ally. They continued to work together, though their roles had slightly changed. He was now a senior trainer, helping to implement the new accountability measures they had developed together. Their friendship had become something special, a partnership built on mutual respect and shared values. The legal proceedings against Lieutenant Thompson and his associates had finally concluded. Multiple officers were convicted, serving significant prison sentences for their crimes. The trials had been public, transparent, and thorough, exactly what Emma had hoped for when she first decided to speak up. Her mother watched everything with quiet pride. She had always known Emma was special, but even she was amazed by the impact her daughter had made. During their weekly phone calls, she would remind Emma of the importance of staying true to herself. Communities across the region began to see the police differently. The transparency initiatives Emma had helped develop were changing how law enforcement interacted with people. Trust was being rebuilt, slowly but surely. Emma received numerous awards and recognitions, but she was never comfortable with the attention. For her, this was never about personal glory. It was about doing what was right, about protecting the communities that needed support the most. Her apartment remained simple, filled with photographs that told her life's story. The picture of her mother still watched over her, a constant reminder of where she had come from and why she continued to fight. Speaking engagements became a regular part of her life. Universities, community centers, and law enforcement conferences invited her to share her story. Young people, especially young women of color, found inspiration in her journey. Jack would often joke that she had become something of a local hero. But Emma remained humble. She understood that real change came from collective effort, not individual glory. The police department had transformed. New recruitment processes, more comprehensive background checks, and ongoing accountability measures became standard. Emma's actions had created a ripple effect that went far beyond her initial investigation. Her mother's words continued to guide her. Courage is not about being fearless. It's about doing what's right even when you're afraid. Emma thought about her journey often. She remembered the scared young woman who had first discovered the corruption, the moment of decision in her small apartment, the confrontation that changed everything. She had risked everything for the truth. Community workshops became another way she continued her mission. She taught young people about integrity, about standing up for what's right, about the power of individual courage. Her story became a living lesson in transformation. Jack remained her strongest support. They would often discuss how far they had come, how much had changed. Their partnership had become something more than just professional. It was a true friendship, built on shared values and mutual respect. The Manchester Police Department was now seen as a model of transparency. Other cities began to look at their reforms, wanting to implement similar changes. Emma's single act of courage had created a movement. Her life was different now, but her core remained the same. She was still the same woman who believed in justice, who understood that one person could make a difference. As she looked out her apartment window, watching the city she loved, Emma knew her journey was far from over. There would always be more work to do, more systems to improve, more communities to protect. She was not just a police officer. She was a guardian of truth, a protector of hope, and her story was just beginning.